The tale of the Black Maiden. I didn't hear this story firsthand. No, it was passed down to me like a whispered curse, told by old Tom, a grizzled dockworker who swore he knew a man who survived the horror. I'm just the messenger, so listen close. They say it all begins with a ship, the Black Maiden. No one knows where she came from, or when, but sailors speak her name in hushed tones, eyes darting toward the horizon like she's watching. She's a shadow on the sea, a phantom with tattered black sails that never billow, yet always move. The Black Maiden doesn't hail or signal. She simply appears. And when she does, ships start disappearing. One by one, swallowed whole by fog and darkness. The survivors, if any, are few, and always just one. The man old Tom knew was a deckhand on the Aurora, a merchant ship carrying spices and rum through the treacherous North Atlantic. It was a moonless night when they spotted her. No stars. Only the glint of the Black Maiden's cold lanterns, flickering like distant eyes. The Aurora's captain called for evasive maneuvers, but the ghost ship was faster, cutting through the waves without sound, closing the gap like a predator. The air changed, turned thick with the scent of salt and decay. Then came the fog, unnatural and suffocating. From the mist, the Black Maiden's deck erupted with figures, ghostly sailors, pale and twisted, eyes hollow yet burning with hunger. They threw grappling hooks with cruel precision. The Aurora's crew fought, but it was no use. Once aboard the Black Maiden, they were never seen again. The deckhand, call him Jacob, was dragged below decks by unseen hands, thrown into a hold filled with rotting corpses and dripping seaweed. He said the Black Maiden was alive, breathing, pulsing, feeding. She sank other ships to feed the souls of her cursed crew, forever trapped between life and death. Jacob escaped one night, slipping through blood-slick corridors and leaping into the freezing ocean as the Black Maiden sank beneath the waves, only to be found days later, delirious and scarred, washed ashore miles away. He survived to tell the tale. But no one believes him. Because the Black Maiden still sails. And when she comes for you, there will be no second chance. When Jacob was pulled aboard the Black Maiden, the first thing that struck him was the silence. Not the quiet of calm seas, but a thick, suffocating void where even the creak of wood seemed swallowed whole. The deck beneath his feet was slick with brine and something darker, congealed blood, old and sticky. The crew's ghosts were everywhere, twisted, skeletal figures with sunken eyes that bled cold fire. Their skin hung in tattered strips, exposing rotted muscle and broken bone, yet they moved with terrifying speed and purpose. These weren't men anymore. They were the Black Maiden's prisoners, condemned to sail eternally, bound to the ship's cursed will. Jacob was dragged down a narrow stairwell into the ship's belly, the hold. The air was thick with rot and salt, a choking miasma that clung to his lungs. Inside, the hold was a macabre tomb, stacks of skeletal remains, dripping with seaweed and barnacles, piled like grotesque cargo. Some were still clutching rusted weapons, their mouths frozen in silent screams. Days passed, or was it hours? Time lost meaning. Jacob was trapped in darkness, chained by unseen forces to a wall slick with slime. The ship whispered to him, a low, guttural voice that echoed through the timbers. It promised release, power, freedom, but at a terrible price. He watched as new souls were brought aboard, screaming and struggling, their flesh torn by spectral claws. The Black Maiden fed on fear and death, absorbing the essence of those she claimed to sail free. Jacob's mind frayed. Nightmares bled into waking moments. He saw visions of watery graves, heard the endless wailing of the lost, and felt the cold grasp of the ocean reach inside him. One night, when the spectral crew was distracted by a violent storm that shook the ship to its core, Jacob seized his chance. Breaking his chains with raw desperation, he fled through the labyrinthine corridors, the ship's groans echoing behind him like a living beast. He burst through a hatch and plunged into the freezing sea. Drowning, freezing, clinging to life by sheer will, Jacob was found days later on a distant shore, his mind shattered but alive. Centuries ago, long before she became a phantom of nightmare and death, the ship was known as the Maiden's Grace. A vessel proud and sleek, she cut through the waves like a blade. Her captain, Elias Crow, was a man feared and admired in equal measure, charismatic, cunning, and merciless in his pursuit of wealth. But greed is a dark seed. Crow's obsession drove him to desperate lengths. On a cursed night, under a blood moon, he sought out a woman whispered about in coastal taverns, a sea witch known only as Morwenna. Legends say Morwenna was a creature of the deep, half human, half something else, with hair like kelp and eyes that shimmered like the abyss. She promised Crow eternal mastery over the seas and invincibility for his ship, but the price was his soul, and those of every man aboard. Desperate, Crow accepted. The pact was sealed in blood and salt. Morwenna's curse twisted the Maiden's Grace. No longer a ship of flesh and timber, she became a living vessel of death, her timbers rotted yet unyielding, her sails shredded yet billowing in phantom winds. Her crew, once flesh and blood, transformed into spectral revenants, their eyes hollow, their mouths frozen in silent screams. But the curse demanded sustenance, a terrible hunger. The Black Maiden must claim souls to feed her unholy life. She sails endlessly, hunting ships to destroy and crews to harvest. Those caught in her fog never escape. Their screams join the chorus echoing beneath her decks. Every sinking adds more to the cursed crew, chained forever to sail the endless, haunted sea. Some say the ship itself is alive, a monstrous entity that devours both flesh and soul, growing stronger with every victim. The siren's call she sings is the echo of Morwenna's voice. A song of longing and doom, impossible to resist, pulling sailors to their deaths in the icy depths. Many who hear the tale dismiss it as superstition. But the sailors who vanish along the trade route speak otherwise. And those who see the Black Maiden know, some curses never end. Before she was Morwenna, before she became the eternal nightmare haunting the waves, she was a woman born of both sea and sorrow. They say her real name is lost to time, whispered only by the crashing waves and the shifting tides. Some claim she was once a mortal, a healer's daughter from a tiny village on the edge of the coast, a place where the land was wild and the sea unforgiving. Her village was poor but proud, clinging to ancient rites and old stories, many centered around the ocean's mysteries. Morwenna's mother was a revered seer, known for communing with the spirits of the deep and healing those who suffered from the sea's cruel gifts, storms, sickness, and curses. From her earliest days, Morwenna was marked by the sea's strange magic. Her hair was the color of kelp, tangled and wild, her eyes deep and dark like the abyssal depths. As a child, she would wander the rocky shorelines, speaking to the ocean as if it spoke back. The villagers called her a strange girl, part sea creature, part human. Some whispered that she was blessed, and others feared she was cursed. Her mother's teachings were strict, filled with warnings about the sea's dual nature, giver of life, but also taker. But Morwenna's fate was sealed by tragedy. One terrible night, a violent storm struck the village. Fishermen and sailors were lost, ships dashed against jagged rocks, and cries for help echoed through the thunder. Desperate to save her people, Morwenna's mother called upon the ocean spirits, performing rituals meant to calm the waters. But something went wrong. The sea, enraged or hungry, claimed her mother, dragging her beneath the waves in a whirlpool of darkness. Morwenna, left alone, was consumed by grief and fury. She plunged into the ocean's depths, seeking the spirits that had taken her mother. There, in the cold dark, she encountered a being older than time. A primordial entity embodying the ocean's wrath and hunger. Some call this being the Old Sea, others call her the Mother of Depths. It was neither wholly good nor evil, but an ancient force of nature beyond mortal comprehension. The entity offered Morwenna a choice: forsake her mortal life and embrace the sea's power to exact vengeance and command the waters, or perish, lost forever beneath the waves. Driven by rage and sorrow, Morwenna accepted. The transformation was agonizing. Her skin hardened like driftwood, Her eyes became endless abysses, and her voice turned into a haunting melody that could charm or kill. Her hair became living kelp, writhing with life. She emerged from the depths reborn as the Sea Witch. But with power came curse. Morwenna was bound to the ocean's endless hunger, doomed to draw in souls to feed the tides of her wrath. She became a siren, luring sailors with her song, binding them to the Black Maiden. The cursed vessel she claimed as her own. Her magic twisted the ship and crew into an extension of herself, a living nightmare sailing the endless dark. Throughout the centuries, sailors have glimpsed her face in the fog, a beautiful, sorrowful woman, before she shifts into a monstrous form with rows of jagged teeth, claws made of coral and bone, and eyes that burn like drowned stars. To meet Morwenna is to face the ocean's coldest embrace. And know that death is not the end, but a doorway to eternal torment. The curse of the Black Maiden is not a simple hex or a fleeting shadow. It is a slow, insidious corruption that claws its way into flesh, bone, and soul, transforming all who fall under its sway into part of an endless, undead legion bound to the ship's dark will. When the Black Maiden appears on the horizon, the air shifts, thickens with salt and sorrow. The siren's song begins as a faint melody, barely audible above the waves. But for sailors, it is irresistible, like a ghostly whisper pulling at the deepest parts of their mind. This song isn't just sound, it is a poison woven from Morwenna's grief and rage, laced with dark magic that seeps into the ears and sinks deep into the brain. It unlocks memories long buried, awakens primal desires, and twists the mind into desperate yearning. Fishermen feel the call to the sea stronger than ever, captains find their hands trembling on the wheel, and crews become restless, drawn toward the phantom ship like moths to flame. Once the Black Maiden pulls alongside, spectral figures throw grappling hooks and cross the decks in eerie silence. But these ghosts are not mindless, they are conduits of the curse itself. The moment a living soul steps aboard, the ship breathes. Timbers shift as if alive, the deck beneath slicks with a mix of salt water, blood, and something far older, an ichor that smells of brine and decay. The air fills with whispers, the voices of the damned, the lost sailors who now haunt the ship. Each step deeper into the Black Maiden drags the victim closer to losing themselves. The curse attacks both body and soul. Physically, victims feel an unbearable coldness creeping through their limbs, as if the ocean itself is devouring their warmth. Skin pales, veins darken, and soon, patches of flesh begin to rot, revealing muscle and bone beneath, but the victim does not die. Instead, they become a grotesque bridge between life and death. Mentally, the siren's song fractures the mind. Victims hear voices, some coaxing, some threatening. Memories twist and betray, paranoia blooms. Some are driven mad by hallucinations, the deck writhing beneath their feet, water rising from the planks, hands reaching up from the shadows. Others become numb, sinking into a hollow trance. Over time, the victim's body and mind fuse with the Black Maiden's dark essence. Their skin tears away, revealing rotted muscle and shattered bone, but they continue to move, compelled by the ship's will. Their eyes burn with a spectral light, their mouths open in silent screams. They are no longer men but wraiths, bound eternally to the Black Maiden as her cursed crew. They cannot leave the ship, nor find rest in death. They become hunters themselves, tasked with dragging new victims aboard, continuing the cycle. Beneath decks, in the ship's hold, the souls of the newest victims writhe trapped in a liminal space, neither alive nor dead. Here, time stretches and folds. Screams echo endlessly against damp wood and rusted chains. The curse feeds on their fear and despair, growing stronger. From this pit of agony, the cursed crew emerge, their humanity lost, forever bound to the Black Maiden's eternal voyage. The Black Maiden does not simply destroy. She consumes. Each victim's soul is a feast, their fear and pain the sustenance that fuels her unholy life. As the curse grows, the ship becomes more monstrous. Her timbers breathe and pulse like living flesh. Her sails stretch like tattered wings. And her song grows louder, calling ever more sailors to the depths. The curse is a chain, and the Black Maiden is its anchor. Those who escape, like Jacob, are rare, and cursed with memories that shred sanity. They carry the song in their minds, a dreadful echo that will haunt them until their end. But the ship never forgets. It will hunt down its escaped prey, drawn by the lingering curse in their blood.